Hi there, welcome to this video. Today, I'm going to teach you how you can self-host n8n with 4 methods, and 2 methods are going to be 100% free. Let's dive in. When we talk about self-hosting, I think the first thing that comes to your mind is, why does everyone want to self-host? So here we're at n8n's pricing options, and we see that they have 3 options for their pricing. If you're on the starter pack, you have 5 active workflows. If you're on the pro, you have 15 active workflows. But essentially, when you're able to host your own instance of n8n, you can actually get everything you get here with pro. And instead of just 15 active workflows, you have unlimited active workflows. So in some use cases, self-hosting is the better option. And I'll be showing you today how to self-host and how to benefit from all these. For our first method, I'm going to show you how you can host n8n using Node.js. So Node.js is kind of like a backbone on which n8n is built on. So here we come to the Node.js website, we go to nodejs.org, and we have to download Node.js to our computer. So here we have different options depending on your machine. So for me, I use a Mac OS, so I would choose Mac OS. But if you use a Windows machine or a Linux machine, you just have to choose the one that will be compatible with your device. Our next steps is we're going to use a terminal. If you're using a Mac or if you're using a Windows machine, you have to use the command line, and we're going to type in some commands. Right now, I'm on my terminal, and in your terminal or your command line, you just have to type in this command. You have to type in npx n8n, and then you just do that. It would take some minutes to run to install some packages. In my case, since I already had this previously, it's just like way faster. But after all that installation is done, you're going to get something that looks like this. And then to open it in your browser, you just have to press O on your keyboard. When you hit O, it will take you to an onboarding. So you just have to like sign up. And I want you to make sure that the password you use for that sign up, you keep it somewhere safe because there's no easy way to retrieve that password again. So here we have our local instance of our n8n. And from here, you could just create workflow, start from scratch, and you can add a first step. So the issue that we have here that is not really covered in a lot of videos is they don't mention that once you have a local instance running, you would need some extra steps to ensure that your local machine, your local instance is accessible to other external services. So you can make requests to it and back. So just to show you an example, let's say we want to search for a webhook. And as we can see here, our webhook is localhost. So it's not accessible. You can't send requests to a localhost and also get requests from a localhost. So we have to do some extra steps to ensure that our webhook is accessible and we can access it through HTTP requests. I'm going back to my terminal and I'm just going to kill this instance we already have running just to show you how you could configure it so you have access to these webhooks with the right URLs that are accessible. So I'm just going to hit Control C, and that's going to shut down that current instance we have running. And we're going to run a new command. It's going to be npx n8n start -- tunnel. And then we're going to click enter. This is going to go through like kind of the same process as earlier. And we see it is done. And we can just go back to this original site we had here for our instance. And there we'll be able to see that our webhooks have been updated. So when we come back to our local instance and we can just refresh the page, we just come here and we check our webhook and we can see that now it has changed. It now has HTTPS starfish n8n cloud. So basically our URL is now accessible because it is hosted on the cloud as well. So that is our first method of how we could locally host n8n using Node.js. For our second method, I'm going to show you how you can set this up with Railway, which is the one I personally use. So for Railway, you'd have to create a GitHub account. It's very simple. You just have to go to github.com. And you just want to do sign up for GitHub. So to create a GitHub account, you just want to go to github.com and you want to sign up. I'm just going to create one with you guys. So you want to put in your email, you want to put in a password. And then you want to put in a username. Okay, that looks good. And then you want to choose your country. I'm in Canada, so I'm going to choose Canada like that. And then you want to continue. It's just going to verify your account. You're going to do some puzzle stuffs. Let's get that over with. Submit. Just to verify you're not a robot. And it will redirect you to get a confirmation code. You just have to put that confirmation code in here and it just verify you. You have to sign in again. I think this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the password. And you just have to sign in. So this looks good. And then when we come back to Railway, you want to do sign in and you want to do continue with GitHub. So we continue with GitHub and you just want to authorize Railway. So you click authorize Railway app. It's going to redirect you and you're going to have all of this. Usually it will give you some questions to answer just to like accept your terms and agreements and also just to not deploy any malicious software or anything like that. You have to just go through all those steps. For me, since I already have an account, they do have a protection where if you create another account with the same IP address, you're going to get this limited trial, which is basically you can deploy high-grade things. So for the rest of the tutorial, I'm going to go to my actual accounts and I'm going to show you how you can create it from this point. So if it is your first time of using Railway, you have 5 credits. So basically $5 in credit that you can use to deploy your app. But after, if you want to continue, you can continue with a hobby plan. That is what I use. And it'd be $5. And the $5 does go pretty far, I've noticed. And if you want, you can set limits or just pay as you go. So I'm just going to come here. And what we want to do is we want to create a new project. So if you were continuing from what we did earlier, you see something over here that said create project. For me, in my case, I'm just going to click on new. And you're going to create a new project. You want to click on deploy a template and you want it to be n8n with workers. So if it doesn't show up here, first off, you can just type in n8n in the search bar. I'm gonna click that. And we have this 4 services we have to deploy. We come all the way down here and we just want to click on deploy. It will take some time to run. We're just going to wait for that. So we want to make sure that these 4 services are deployed. If after a while they're not showing up, you can just refresh the page and the 4 should show up. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to come to the primary. So we click on the primary and this URL here is a URL we're going to be using to deploy. Usually it might take a few seconds just to connect the DNS and make sure everything is pointing to the right place. But once that is all done, if you click on this, it takes you to this where you can just sign up with your email, your first name, your last name, and everything. I just want us to note again that there's no very easy ways to recover passwords. So the best use case would be just to save your password somewhere so that you can access it whenever you want, however you want, and you won't have to go through all that hassle in the future. So I'm going to create an account. I'm going to put in all the information, make up a password, and we want to click next. Here we just have the same onboarding questions. So we just have to do this. Just gonna put myself, less than 20 people in Google, get started. And here we get asked if we want a license key, which is basically going to give us access to the paid features. So I'm just gonna click on send me free license key. You can click skip if you want. And here we're going to start from scratch. So just visiting that same webhook issue, if we should tap on the add first step and we search for webhook, we see here that it is not localhost. So everything for webhooks with Railway is already set up for us, which is what I like. So I don't have to go through any extra hassle of getting something set up or just running into issues when I do my workflows. And also with locally hosted n8n instances, if you're ever on the go, you cannot really access that particular instance. You have to use that particular machine at that particular time. But with Railway, I could be somewhere else. I can forget my computer and I can still be able to access my instance at any time, which is why I prefer hosting it on the cloud somewhere. Also, if you want to keep seeing cool builds like this, make sure you like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot to be able to keep bringing out cool videos like this to help you guys on your n8n journey. Also, if you have any video suggestions or anything you'd like to see, make sure you leave those in the comments. So I will be creating those videos to help you out as well. For our third method, we're going to use Docker. So here you just have to go to docker.com and we have the option to download Docker Desktop, which is what we're going to be doing. Here on Docker Desktop, when you hover over this, you have different options. So you have to choose the option that will be compatible for the machine you're using. If you're using maybe a Windows, you should maybe go with Windows. For me, I'm using a Mac, so I'm going to go for Mac Apple Silicon. Click on that and you just have to download that. Once that is downloaded, you just have to click on the newly downloaded file and you have to go through all the installation processes. You just have to follow the instructions you're giving. For me personally, I already have Docker installed because I use it frequently. So I'm not going to be going through the installation because it's already installed, but you can just go through that process. And after, you just have to create an account and sign in. After you've installed Docker Desktop and you've gone through all the installation processes and you have created your account, you just have to come here to the Docker Desktop and we want to go to Docker Hub. So we click on Docker Hub and here in the search bar, we just want to search for n8n. We see our search results and we have n8n io/n8n and we're going to select that. Over here, where we see this tag latest, here you can choose a version of n8n that you want. For me, I want n8n 1.88.0. So I'm going to click that. And you want to click on pull. So this is going to basically get all the installation requirements that we need to be able to host this instance. And we just have to wait a while so everything can configure. Awesome. So that has been downloaded successfully. For the next step, we want to come to the sidebar and we want to go to images. So we click on images and here we can see our instance here, n8n io/n8n. And we want to click on the run. So we want to just click on this play sign over here to run it. Here we have optional settings. We just want to click that drop down. And here we can just basically give a container name and configure the rest of this installation process. So I'm going to click n8n tutorial. You can name it whatever you want. And for your host ports, you can put in 0 if you just wanted to automatically generate a host port for you. In my case, I'm going to be using a port, so I'm going to use 55,000. And for volumes, we just want to leave that blank. And for environment variables, for now, we're just going to leave that blank as well. And then we just hit run. It just goes through all the installation processes. And it is complete, pretty fast. And over here, we can see our URL to our local instance. We're just going to tap on that. And here we're just going to go through the same onboarding process and we can start from scratch. So here, also checking out that webhook thing, if we search on webhook, we can see here that we also have this localhost webhook, which is not accessible. So with this webhook, we'll not be able to, send requests, receive requests. So we have to go through some extra steps. To be able to set up a webhook, we'd actually have to delete this instance and then restart the instance and put that in our initial setup. So I'm just going to do that. We're going to go back to GitHub Desktop and we just have to delete what we already have. So we can go to containers and we have n8n tutorial. We just want to delete that forever. And we also have our image. We also want to delete the image as well. And we just want to go over the whole setup process again. So we go to Docker Hub, search n8n, get this. We do the 1.88.0, we pull, and then we want to go to images. We want to come to this our image right here. We want to click on the run sign. So we want to just click on this play button, and this will take us back to the optional settings. Here we just have to put the container name. We have to put the port, just the same process. But the thing that'll be different this time is we have to put an environment variable. So we just have to put webhook underscore URL. And then we just have to put a URL that is accessible. And even after we do that, we still have to go through some other extra configurations, which we do using nginx. Nginx is basically this HTTP server that helps us make that URL accessible. So if you want to set this up, I will not be going over the full setup in this video, but you can just search n8n nginx. And here you actually have setup steps given by the CEO of n8n himself, just walking people how they could install this and make this webhook accessible. So you can just come here and see all of this and follow it. If you want, you could also check out the n8n documentation on environment variables. And here you can see all the information as well. You could also set up some other environment variables that help you have very cool features in n8n. And for this, you could also check out the configuration settings and methods, which will also help you configure this properly. However, with that instance, you'll be able to run anything that n8n can do locally. For our fourth method, we're going to be using Heroku to connect n8n as a self-hosted instance. So to do this, we just have to search n8n Heroku. And we just have to scroll down. We're looking for the GitHub repo. So here we see this n8n-io n8n Heroku GitHub repo. You want to click on that. And you just scroll down, you just see this that says deploy to Heroku. So if we click that, so if you don't have a Heroku account, you just have to go with the sign up and everything. It will take you through the sign up process, and it also wants you to authenticate. So it'll give you three options. You can use like a one-time code. That is what I used. You can download any authenticator app and just scan that QR code they'll give you and be able to access it. So for me, I already have an account, so I'm just going to sign in. Cool. So here we can just put in the information for our app. For our app name here, I'm just going to do n8n tutorial. And we want the location as common runtime. The only things we really need to change here is the n8n encryption key. You can put anything in here. So I'm actually just going to copy this app name. And then I'm just going to do dash encryption. Dash key. And you can literally put anything in here. For this, we just have to replace this placeholder that says app name with our actual app name. So I'm just going to place that in there. And we're going to click on deploy app. Usually before deploying your app, they'll ask you for your credit card details. So we just click on deploy app. And we see all these running. And once they're all done running, we'll get a URL where we can access our instance. And once everything is done setting up, we should have everything here as green ticks. And we can just click over here, view, to view our newly deployed instance. Awesome. So here we just have to go through the whole sign-on process. So usually when you do deploy with Heroku, you may get something that says like dangerous sites. This is just because Heroku doesn't have the HTTPS protocols that we need to be able to run this not as a dangerous site. So for that, you just have to ignore that. It's not dangerous. You can just go ahead with it. And if we come here just to check our webhook, just like last time, we do have our webhook here set up, so we don't have to do any extra steps for this. And that is how to self-host n8n. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments down below. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.